Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Moho Moho. We're taking shelter at the feet of Holy Mother Sharada Devi, who is our universal mother, and also Sri Ramakrishna, the world's universal teacher. I salute them again and again. So, welcome to the session on Holy Mother. This is not the normal session that Swami Vimokshananda gives, because that's in a series. I don't want to disrupt the series. But this is taking some extract from the life and teachings of Holy Mother. And Jean has been able to give us something. So, Jean, would you mind reading the passage that you selected out and your question?
Okay, Swamiji, thank you. This extract is again taken from Sri Sharada Devi and her divine play by Swami Purnananda, and I will start at page 440. The title of the paragraph is, I am the mother of the virtuous and the wicked. In this world, there is no glory in making a good person good, but it is praiseworthy if one can make a bad person good. One cannot help a weak person or a sinner by reminding him of his weakness or sin. No one in this world is absolutely good or absolutely bad. The mother knew her children's bad and good qualities. She said, people by nature often do evil things. How few know how to make them good. Probably in 1901, Holy Mother was staying in a rented house at 10 Boshpar Lane, Baghbazar. Swamiji had sent a servant away from Bellarmine for stealing. He was a poor man, and his family depended on his income. The helpless man went to the mother, confessed his crime, and begged her forgiveness. The mother gave him shelter and fed him. In the afternoon, when Premananda came to pay his respects to her, the mother said to him, Look, Babaram, this man is very poor. Impelled by poverty, he committed a mistake. For that reason, Naran reprimanded him and drove him out. You see, this world is full of misery. You are monk, so you understand very little of it. Take him back to Bellarmine. Premananda tried to convince the mother that this might displease Swamiji. Agitated, the mother said, I say take him back. When Premananda returned to the mass with that servant, Swamiji remarked, Look at Baburam's senseless act. He has brought back that fellow. When Premananda told Swamiji the whole story, he did not utter another word. Holy Mother had all sorts of devotees. Some were pure and virtuous, some impure and sinful, and some strange and crazy. As the 5 fingers of a person are not all of equal length, so all of a mother's children are not the same. Generally, a mother is more compassionate to her weak children than to her strong ones. A young disciple of the mother talked privately to her on the northern veranda of her room in Udbodhan House. He lamented, Mother, I have suffered a lot because of my bad karma. You are my guru, chosen deity, and all in all. In fact, I have committed so many sins that I am ashamed to tell them to you. Your grace is holding me. The mother caressed his head with her hand and said, Despite everything, a son remains a son to his mother. Touched by the mother's affection, the young man said, Mother, you are right. I have received so much grace from you, but may I never think that your grace is easily available. An educated young man from a wealthy family in a village close to Jairambati received initiation from Holy Mother. He established an ashrama in his village and did a lot of social work. Unfortunately, he fell in love with a young widow who was his close relative. Gossip spreads fast from mouth to mouth. The people of Jairambati heard about it, and the devotees asked Holy Mother to forbid him from visiting. The mother was sad when she learned of her disciple's fall, but she said, I am a mother. How can I forbid him from seeing me? Such words will never pass through my lips. That young man continued to visit the mother, and one day he brought the woman to her. The mother considered it to be providence and forgave them. And the chapter goes on, Swamiji, to talk about various situations and times in Holy Mother's life when she absolutely looked after the marginalized and forgave them and moved forward. My question, my musings are, as spiritual newbies, fledglings, we are also told, like young saplings, we need protective fencing around us to keep us safe. And we're advised to keep holy company. And yet, Holy Mother says we are not to see fault in others, but rather to find our own faults. Now, in discerning between holy company and unholy company, are we finding fault in others by deciding who is holy company and who is unholy? That's my question, Swamiji.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, in order to find fault with others, we have to have some critical mind. We have to have a way of thinking which feels that others are wrong and we are right in comparison. So, finding fault with another equates to egoism. Because, and Jesus has put it this way, he gives this example. I only recently found out that actually it's not there in the Greek, but never mind, let's assume it is, because it's beautiful. So instead of trying to remove the splinter from another person's eye, why don't you remove the whole beam or tree trunk in your own eye first? So it is much better to make our starting point, our critical start point, our own self, to make an evaluation about our own life and our own self, instead of looking at others. And there has a tendency when we have a sense of egoism, that is, when we are attached to the human body and mind and personality, it goes with a sense of self-image, and that self-image is loaded with pride. We know from the Enneagram workshop, of course. And so going around all the personality types, we can see the variance of this. I am right. I am perfect. I am good. I am helpful. I'm worthwhile. I'm successful. I am special. I am the expert, or I am knowledgeable. I am wise. But you see, if you say I'm wise, it means everybody else is foolish. So that's a very arrogant attitude. So it goes on. See, I'm loyal. I'm a loyal person. I'm obedient. See, I am fun. Means everybody else is not. I am strong. Means everyone else is weak and I can dominate. I go with the flow. Means I sleep all the time. So all of these things, all of these self-images are egoistic self-images. And they're all obstacles in our path. And when we honestly stand by and review, where are we now in a critical way, in an honest way? Now, everybody has good points and everybody has bad points. Everybody has virtues, everybody has vices. But there's a cultural hesitation to highlight your virtues in an absolutely honest way. But very few people want to highlight their vices publicly. And many are not even aware of them privately. So if we're not careful, we have this understanding that the world is not right, people are not right, situations are not right, and I have to take personal responsibility for correcting the whole lot. On what basis? On the basis that God is old and senile, sitting in heaven, been there since Genesis. He has no idea what he's doing, poor fellow. And then as we go through our life, you see, he's been there since Genesis, so a little senile now. I have to do everything for the poor fellow. So that's very often the attitude that we have. I know I put it in a funny way, but when you boil it down, that's how it looks. And if we find that we have a critical attitude all the time, we'll be stuck. The Patanjali Yoga Sutras, in response to how do we direct the mind, has this to say. In overcoming difficulties, our own difficulties, and we can use this as a checklist, grief is one of them. Grief means either local, temporary disappointment or long-term sorrow. Mental distress. How many people can say, I have no mental stress at all. I'm completely content all the time, consistently. And then another would be tremor of the body. What does tremor of the body mean? Well, in extreme cases, we know what it is because it's to do with nervous breakdown. We can see it in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjun couldn't even hold his bow. He was tremoring. So tremor of the body, that means some kind of imbalance. Many people come to me under stress, and I give them a physical balance because I can see automatically they're out of balance. The yogis have the system of the body has a network of nadis, subtle channels, not nerves. Nerves may correspond to some of them. We know, of course, in the yogic system of three of them, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. But there are many, many more, thousands of them. And if you get a fright, then everything gets reversed. You become a little confused, equivalent to a tremor of the body. And by touching certain lymphatic points and so on, you can make a correction. Because the whole of the body is an energetic thing. It has a flow in it, and it has a polarity in it. And if you reverse a polarity, you feel, I don't feel right. Something's out of sync. I feel a little uneasy. I feel out of balance. And then irregular breathing comes with it. And all of these are due to one thing, lack of concentration, according to Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Now, when we start concentrating on other people, other things, and lose sight of our own status quo, then we're in trouble. Concentration, says the commentator, in this case Swami Vivekananda, will bring perfect repose to mind and body every time it is practiced. When the practice has been misdirected or not enough controlled, these disturbances come. Repetition of Om, something we discussed this morning, and self-surrender to the Lord will strengthen the mind and bring fresh energy. Now, in the case of Holy Mother, we can see her whole life was one long prayer event. And the basis of her motherly compassion was she put herself in the position of an actual mother. That means that every stranger, she says, make every stranger feel at home. Make the whole world your own. We have a rhyme version of that in these last words of Holy Mother in a prayer that we say normally prior to a meal. And it's the most beautiful prayer, see. Make every stranger feel at home. Can we adequately do that? Or are we busy discriminating in a negative way and criticizing? Now, when we meet a person, a new person, when somebody that we don't know comes into our field, a stranger, the first thing, within the first minute or so, we are told, less than that, half a minute, we've already made a critical assessment of the person. By the way they look, never mind about who they are, just by the way they look. You can put it in a funny way. Oh, that person, their nose is too big, or their ears are too big, or, something like that. Or they have no hair, or, they're not good looking, or they're fat, or they're thin. We make a judgment on the physical level. But the mother is an elevated soul. She makes no judgments on any of the physical levels, or the cultural levels, or the religious levels, or the gender levels, none of these. Because all the time she's seeing her own divinity inside everyone and taking the role of a mother and making them her own child. You see, a mother takes a newborn baby into the park, and there are people who are gathering around. You may think your child is perfect, but those gathering around will make a critical analysis. They'll say, oh, either it's a charming baby, a cute baby, and see, from some people's point of view, all newborn babies look like Winston Churchill. See, with his squeezed up faces and all the rest of it, you see. But to a mother, it's the most beautiful thing on the planet. And to all mothers, actually, it's like that, see. So the mother has a non-automatically, a non-critical way of looking at things, an accepting way of looking at things, because of the motherly love inherent in the person. But then the Holy Mother takes it to the nth degree. She makes every person her own child. So when we have this vision of unity, how do we get that? The recipe is here. The formula is here in this commentary. It says there, repetition of Om. That is, saturate your own mind with the Divine Lord and the name of the Lord, the mantra, the word of God, the sound of God, the presence of God. Sing songs, continuously keep the mind in a state of elevation, and mind is in a state of delight, and always, even in moments, especially in moments where the mind is not deliberately directed, you have to watch for those gap moments, and there put something in: strong, true, wise, full, free, truth, beauty, goodness, love. Harmony, put that in. Whatever value you put in comes to you. If you put strong in, you'll be strong. True in, you'll be true. Compassion, you'll be compassionate. Love, you'll be loving. Whatever you put in comes to you and reflects your own outlook. So, self-surrender. Self-surrender means taking this delicate self-image and releasing it. Mother, you carry me. Your whole divine grace flows through. And you see in the passage there, as you read the passage, Mother, I'm undeserving of your grace, and I know that it is no mean thing to get your grace, and that you freely distribute it everywhere to everyone, to good and bad alike. In our judgment, people judge good and bad. The ordinary person will do that. We have to elevate our mind to match the example that Holy Mother gives. And so self-surrender to the Lord will strengthen the mind and bring fresh energy. When you make a criticism, a critical mind, you're dragging the mind down. Now that's we mentioned the physical level. Then when you start talking to a person, the critical element is going on. Why? Because everybody has such a high esteem of themselves that they want everybody to be an exact duplicate of them. Everyone is looking for a mutual admiration society where you all agree and where people look and feel and talk exactly the same as you. But people are different. The nervous shakings will come to almost everyone, it says, if you don't concentrate the mind. Do not mind them at all. Even in spiritual practice, they can come of a different kind. But now, to remedy all of this, says Patanjali Yoga Sutras, The practice of one subject should be made. If you're a devotee, you should practice love of God. That's the simplest way. If you are karma yogi, you should put all your energy into unit activities, into this current now, not in the past, not in the future, and don't invest in anything that will disturb the mind. Criticism will disturb the mind. Finding fault in others will create the fault in you. Dissatisfaction that you have will create a sense of dissatisfaction in you. Whatever you think comes to you. And every cell will take the message home and say, the master or the mistress says, this is the order of the day. You say, I hate. Then next time you eat food, the stomach says, the owner of this body says, hate is on the menu. I hate my food. And then you get indigestion. So, making the mind take the form of one object for some time will destroy these various obstacles. And then comes this beautiful, beautiful formula, which is there. Maitri, Karuna, Mundita, Upeksha. So it goes on like that. Friendship, a list of qualities to cultivate. Friendship, mercy, gladness, and indifference being thought of in regard to subjects happy, unhappy, good, and evil, respectively, pacify the mind. Let's put chitta, that is the mind stuff. Because our difficulty, if you want to put it scientifically, is the mind is a state of disturbance. Caused by ourselves, no doubt. You can't blame anything else. It's a reaction to the outside world. And we have the capacity to control it by engendering these qualities. Let us take the first one. Be friendly to all. This afternoon, we took a climb up a hill. It's supposed to be about 2 kilometers, something like that. So everybody I met, I spontaneously had to make a comment somehow. And what's the response on the other side? Everybody's friendly to me. If I'm friendly to them, they're friendly to me. Inserting a kind of sense of humor. And having climbed the hill, I know how it is for those climbers when I'm climbing down. A small joke or something, and everybody responds with great friendliness. When you get to the top, they volunteer. They say, can we take your photograph? Yes, you can take it. Can I take yours? Yes. Like that. And then you share the beautiful view with everybody. So be friendly. To whom? To all. If you smile at somebody, what will happen? You see, we have to echo in a synergistic moment. We have to echo the other person. If you are calm and loving and friendly, you'll elicit that response from the other. What else can they do? You disarm hatred and anger by doing that. So friendship. Mercy. Be compassionate. So be compassionate for those who are suffering. And all through this passage that Jean has read, example after example after example of the mother's endless compassion in the most difficult circumstances. One woman was dumped, as it were, by her lover, by her parama, and she had given up everything for this person. And the mother takes her, sees her weeping, come on, come on, then talks to the young man. Look, she's given up everything for you. Won't you come and accept her? Like that, she was resolving all issues out of pure compassion. So then gladness. If you're successful, why wouldn't we be glad? But what happens often is somebody is successful and then we feel jealous. Oh, that person is successful. What a pity. No, what a glory. See, it's not a competition. And indifference being thought of in regard to subjects, happy or unhappy. If a person is happy, or if a person is unhappy, or if a person is good, or if a person is evil, then you're completely indifferent to it. It doesn't matter. You won't be affected in one way or other on the basis that who is perfect? And then the story, carrying on from Jesus, says about a prostitute who's there and people criticizing her, and the priests and the Pharisees and all that of the age. And then he starts writing, the story goes, he starts writing their names in the sand, all the things that they are defective over, as a fact, not as a malice. That's the difference. Don't find fault with others maliciously or critically, but you can state them as a fact, isn't it? And so he then said, "He who is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone." They were going to stone the woman, and they all withdrew. So that's a wonderful example. They themselves were critical. And Jesus responds with a factual, "Come on, I love you too, as much, but let's face it, don't find fault because you're not faultless. So rather find your own faults," says the mother. Find your own faults first before you find the faults with others. And then what you find as a fault, the mother couldn't find fault with anybody. It was absolutely against her nature. She said, "I have long surpassed that. I can never, it's not me. I cannot do it." Because she takes this role of mother so seriously, on the basis that we should all take, that the whole world is our own. And that's what she says, make the whole world your own. And if the whole world is your own, then we're all at least brothers and sisters. At least that much. Then if you go deeper into the worth of a person, then you find only the Divine Mother expressed in and through and as the whole universe. How can the right hand criticize your left hand, or your left hand criticize the right hand, when you know it's all one body, one entity? So knowledge will dispatch that and dispel it. We must have, says the commentator, Swami Vivekananda in this case, based on old commentators, we must have these four sorts of ideas. We must have friendship for all. We must be merciful towards those that are in misery. This is exactly the life of the Holy Mother. When people are happy, we ought to be happy. And to the wicked, we must be uncritical. Now, what about assisting somebody? So there's such a thing as coaching for improvement. That's a different thing. What did the mother do? She was suggesting how you can better your life. And so she says at the very beginning, everybody talks about this person's evil, this person's evil, this person's evil, but nobody makes any effort to elevate a person to goodness. That's a much better thing. It's easy to be critical. It's easy to say, this is wrong and that is wrong. Today you find it throughout the world. In all the news broadcasts, you'll only find bad news. The world is like this, the world is like that. All right, what will you do about it? A good manager with somebody coming with a problem says, I have a problem. Good manager will say, very good. What is your solution? Give a person some level of independence. Think for yourself. Elevate a person, make a person stronger. That's worthwhile. But to criticize and drag a person down, what use is that? It's not constructive. So, with all subjects that come before you, if the subject is a good one, we shall feel friendly towards it. If the subject of thought is one that is miserable, then we must be merciful toward it. And if it is good, we must be glad. And if it is evil, we must be indifferent. So I have a policy. in discussions, sometimes that become maybe heated. If I can agree with somebody, I say yes and nod. If I disagree, I keep quiet. These attitudes of the mind towards the different, not just keep quiet, but beam love toward them. These attitudes of the mind towards the different subjects that come before it will make the mind peaceful. It's to your advantage. And every person who's in front of you, it's a privilege for you to see them and to have the opportunity of worship the disguised Lord or universe within them. You're the privileged one to be of service. Don't think that you're ever helping somebody. No, you're worshiping God and being given the privilege to do it. Service, that's all. Service to the God in man on the basis of the statement Jiva is Shiva, the soul is the same as the Lord. Most of our difficulties, he says, in our daily lives come from being unable to hold our minds in this way. That's another thing we have to acknowledge. That doesn't stop us from attempting to do it, elevating the mind to the highest position, using the game of guiding thought to elevate the mind. For instance, if a man does evil to us, instantly we want to react evil and we want to react to evil, and every reaction of evil shows that we are not able to hold the mind stuff down, talking in purely psychological terms. It comes out in waves towards the object, and we lose our own power. That's the problem. So we're doing ourselves a disservice. Every reaction in the form of hatred or evil is so much lost to the mind, and every evil thought or deed of hatred or any thought of reaction, if it is controlled, will be laid in our favor. It is not that we lose by thus restraining ourselves. We are gaining infinitely more than we suspect. Each time we suppress hatred or a feeling of anger, it is so much good energy stored up in our favor. That piece of energy will be converted into the higher powers. So this is dealing with that subject. Friendliness to all, compassion. You see, a mere word can be the greatest encouragement, or you can instantaneously bring a person down. Speech is the most disastrous weapon we have. And all speech is doing is expressing what's going on in the mind. Toxic mind will come out as toxic speech. There's no doubt. So we have to be kind to ourselves and to others, but we have to be honest enough to appraise our own faults. First, make that correction, and then from a spontaneous energy, from a spontaneous feeling, seeing and appreciating the person on every level, physical, psychological, emotional, and finally spiritual. So I say many times, I can say it again, a person comes with various layers. Physical layer is the obvious thing. Instead of criticizing it, understand everybody has suffered in the past. Some are suffering now, and undoubtedly everybody will suffer in the future. There are no exceptions to it. It's the rent we pay for a body. So we should at least be compassionate. The golden rule, he who does others, or do unto others as they would have do unto you. And we can insert the whole adjustment and say, he who causes pain to another, that would, in the same circumstances, cause pain to you. Please avoid that. On the basis that there's only a holistic universe, there's only one. one entity, one energy, one matter, and one spirit. Then on the psychological level, we have to be compassionate because more or less everybody is suffering on that level. And if they're not suffering now, they will. The next second or the next second or the next day. All this mental disturbance, if you do an internet search on stress or any such similar subject, is one of the most sought after subjects. How can I relieve tension in this world? How can I be positive? How can I overcome despondency? How can I have peace of mind? All of this is a well sought subject. So everybody is suffering. We should be compassionate. That should be our first port of call, not criticism. And then finally, all of that yields to a sense of adoration, because behind everything is the divine player, playing the part that sits in front of us. And then there's nothing to correct. There's no such thing as an imperfect entity behind it. We find it also, this attitude has the extra benefit. What was the Divine Mother doing? By being compassionate, by seeing no faults, by treating people as her own children, literally, 100%, as her literal own children, thousands and thousands of them. What was she doing? She was transforming their lives. Because when you see the perfection standing behind there, it flows through in all these aspects, physical, psychological, emotional, all of that, it filters through. And that is why the blind can see. The wiring that Jesus had made the blind see, made the lame walk, made the dead awake. All the relatives of Lazarus, they were in a terrible state of bereavement. Oh, what a pity. If you had been here, he would not have died. He's dead now. And the Lord says, no, he but sleepeth. As soon as he said that, Lazarus awakes. So we have this capacity within us to mobilize a force of love that has a transforming effect on the other side also. So that's the great point behind that. That's not to say that we don't state a fact. There are obvious things which are evil. But we also have to add all the other things as well. We have to accept that the evil is on the surface and that good and bad are constituents that make this world work. And all the actors on a stage can't all be the heroic type. Now in Ireland and the UK and what have you, at Christmas time there's such a thing as a drama called a pantomime. I don't know when it originated, but traditionally you have all the varying components that you can possibly have. So you have to have a musical chorus, you have to have a villain, you have to have humor, you have to have a plot, you have to have audience participation. All these various parts are being played, but they're only dramatic parts, that's all. If you can see behind the drama, then you won't get offended. You won't get angry. You'll always feel composed. You'll always feel loving. And you'll always have a sporting attitude playing the game. A different approach. You won't react in any negative way. But the love and the compassion is the most significant ingredient. It has the most transforming effect. So this was the Divine Mother. How beautiful that is. We can read a few more examples from her life to illustrate the point. There was a young widow in Chirampati who was very poor and earned her livelihood by hard manual labor. She did not remember when she had been married or even who her husband had been. It was only when she grew up that she learned she was a widow. And at that time, a Hindu widow could not marry again. Such girls generally lived with their parents or husband's family like maidservants. She used to be called to the mother's house to carry the devotee's luggage. The mother had great affection for this young widow. When the girl attained womanhood, she fell in love with a young man, and when their love affair became known, there was a big commotion in that conservative society. That conservative society will condemn that person. They'll find the fault, condemn it, and the person will be stigmatized by the whole society. Hard-hearted social leaders wanted to punish her. For most of her life, no one had thought to help her or give her any education, and now they began to verbally abuse her. Holy Mother heard the whole story and was worried about the young woman's future. She wholeheartedly prayed to God for the young woman's welfare. And God answered Holy Mother's prayer. A wealthy landlord of a neighboring village, who was a disciple of the Mother, intervened and reminded the leaders to have a compassionate outlook towards that girl. And peace returned to the village. See, a transformation took place. The mother heaved a sigh of relief. See how personally she takes it. When that lord came to bow down to the mother, she joyfully blessed him, saying, "My son, you have saved that poor girl from misery. I am extremely pleased and relieved. May the Lord bless you for this intervention." Swami Purnananda related an important incident that took place in Kualpara in 1919, the year before Holy Mother passed away. He says, "One day I said to the mother, 'Mother, your health is not good, and you are suffering from illness off and on. The person who is cooking for you, you know her questionable character. If you allow me, I can find another cook for you.' Hearing my words, the mother became very grave and then said, 'If you wish, you can get rid of her, but if I forsake her, where will she go?' I immediately fell at the mother's feet," he says, "and begged forgiveness. 'Mother, I made a big mistake. Please be gracious to me and forgive me. Who else can give this kind of reassurance? If I forsake her, where will she go? Whatever we may be, we are none other than the mother's children.' She herself said, 'If my children are covered with dirt, I will have to take them on my lap after cleaning and washing them. I am their real mother and not a foster mother.' You see, most people have genetic love. That's nothing unusual. It's not a big plus. Every genetic animal has it. Every biological creature has it. The dogs will fight and bite and scratch. Other dogs never mind about anything that is not a dog. They will defend their whole life against their own children, but other children, forget it. And the same thing with humans. I defend my own children, but what about my neighbor's children or their neighbor's children or somebody in another town or somebody in another country? Well, that's their business. How many people make the whole world their own? You'll get multiple headaches if you understand the tragedy in the world today. There are more refugees today than have ever been there in the whole world before, in the history of the world. These are children living in refugee camps with no sanitary conditions. Thousands upon thousands of them. Slavery. There is more slavery today than was ever in the past. In the 21st century, can you imagine? There are wars, devastating wars. Innocent civilians get hurt. In the ancient days, in India and Persia, they had wars on a battlefield with the idea, may no civilian be harmed. Innocent women and children, civilians, let them stay out of it. Let it make military person versus military person. If we had to understand all this going on in the world, truly, and have the compassion, the whole world is my own, but then we'd have divine confidence. But we would be constantly praying. Holy Mother was all-knowing. and savior of the fallen. Swami Purnananda wrote this eyewitness account of a famous actress who had led a sinful life and came to the Mother for succor. One morning, so Holy Mother is not a religious cleric that will point a finger and criticize. One morning at 8 o'clock, a woman came to Udbodhan house by car. She walked straight to the steps as if the house were known to her. Later, I learned that it was her first visit. The Mother was in her room with Yogin Ma, Golap Ma, and the wife of Dr. Agoranath Ghosh. The Mother was talking when all of a sudden she said to her companions, "Please wait a little. I'll return soon." She walked from her room towards the steps. The woman on the steps was a well-known actress. She was sobbing with her head on the railing of the steps. The Mother came down, touched her head, and then hugged her affectionately. Then the Mother said to her, "When you come to the Master, you'll not have to cry anymore." This assurance made the woman cry even harder, and the Mother led her upstairs and wiped her eyes with the corner of her own cloth. She said, "Now go to the Master and bow down to him with a smiling face." And on the upper part of the upper veranda, the actress first bowed to the Mother, who blessed her by touching her head. The Mother also touched her chin with her fingers and kissed them, which was her way of showing love and affection. She took the actress to the shrine, and pointing to the Master's picture on the altar, she said, "Now bow down to the Master." That noon the actress had her prasad sitting next to the Mother, right next door, who shared some of her food with her. Another time the Mother was staying at Jagadamba Ashram in Goalpara. A young woman from a low-caste family came to her with a broken heart and complained that her paramour had suddenly deserted her. This was the story I told earlier. She wept bitterly as she related her sad tale to the Mother. She had given up her friends and family to live with him, and now she was completely helpless. Touched by her sad plight, the Mother sent for the man and rebuked him gently. Even the rebuke was gentle. "This girl has given up everything and everyone for you, and you have taken her service for a long time. Now if you leave her, you'll incur a great sin. You won't find a place even in hell." The Mother's words penetrated his heart, and he had a change of heart and accompanied that girl home. It was not possible for Holy Mother to see faults in others, and she did not like others seeing faults either. Once in Jarambati, some devotees complained to Holy Mother that someone who had been her attendant now lived in Rishikesh and was quarreling with the monks there. They added, "How could he have such a bad tendencies after having lived with you and served you so long?" When they left, Holy Mother said to Brahmachari Bharata, "My son, I can no longer see or hear of anyone's faults. One will have to reap the results of one's own past karma. And if one were destined to have a deep cut, at the very least, one would get the prick of a needle." And they talked about certain person's faults to me, but where were they in those days when that person was with me? He served me so well. In those days, I lived with my brother's family, and I would boil the paddy and then husk it. I used to do all the housework, or all the household work, because my sisters-in-law were quite young, without caring for cold or rain, covered with soot. And this person would help me by taking the big vessels of boiled paddy down from the wooden stove. In other words, see the merits of the person. You're seeing all the faults. And all that contributes towards the person's sowing and reaping that we call karma. Now many devotees come, but who was helping me then? Should I forget it all? Well, people should not be blamed. Previously, I noticed people's shortcomings. Later, I prayed to the Master with tears, "Master, May I never see faults in others. And thus, after long prayers, I got rid of that bad habit. And in saying that, she gives us a formula for us to also change our lives. Holy Mother always saw the good qualities in her children. Ramakrishna accepted disciples only after testing them. But the mother accepted everyone who came to her, everyone without discrimination. You can see the quality of just being a mother. It is not possible for a real mother, to reject her bad children and welcome only the good ones. Your son, your daughter will always be your son, your daughter. Once M, that's Mahendranath Gupta, was so offended by the conduct of certain devotee that he requested the mother not to allow him to be anywhere near her. And she replied, "If my son is besmeared with dust and dirt, I will have to clean him and take him on my lap." Girish Ghosh, the Bohemian devotee of Ramakrishna, said, "The master gave shelter to a horrible sinner like me. If I had known that there was such a large dustbin to dump all my sins in, I would have enjoyed more pleasures in my life." Like the master, the mother also gave shelter to many people with questionable character. Although her whole body burnt with their sins, she endured it silently without a murmur. You see, somebody who has love, any guru, any real guru, will say, "Let me take it on me. I'll do it. I'll keep my body as healthy as I can. Still, I'll withstand everything. Why do you have to suffer? Put it on me." One afternoon, when the visitors had left, Brahmachari Raspihari saw Holy Mother washing her feet up to the knees again and again. When she was asked why, she replied, "Don't allow anyone to salute me by touching his head to my feet. Thus all sins enter through my body and my feet burn. So I have to wash my feet. For this reason I suffer from illness. Tell people to bow down from a distance." Then she immediately changed her mind and said, "Please don't tell them these things. Please don't tell these things to Sharadananda, who was her watchdog. He will stop salutations altogether." The great teachers of the world do not compromise truth. And even in incarnation, avatara is two words. Ava means down. So avatara, down, the one who comes down, one who descends, cannot satisfy everyone since each person is different. Sometimes the great teacher's actions are misunderstood because people judge according to their own viewpoints. Another example coming. Once a fallen woman came to Udbodhan house and fell at the mother's feet. Holy Mother embraced her and said, "Come to me, my daughter. Now you have realized what sin is. You are repentant. I shall initiate you with a mantra. Offer yourself at the feet of the Master. Don't be afraid." Some aristocratic women from Bhagwasa heard that the mother had given shelter to a woman of questionable character, so they decided not to go there. They stayed away. See how they were critical in contrast. So then Krishna Bhavini told this to Golapma and she reported it to Holy Mother. She remarked, "Those who have taken refuge in me will come here. That's it, regardless. What can I do if someone's coming to me stops others coming? Let them stay away. That's what they have to do." But later, of course, they came to the mother and apologized for their wrong judgment. So this is a contrast in fault finding and non-fault finding. Can you see the difference? So we leave it there, and you can read those passages for yourself, worthwhile, and you'll see the astonishing example that Holy Mother gives us in terms of this question of fault finding. I hope that satisfies.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. So well explained and also some very useful practical things that we can put into use. Thank you so much.
All right, good. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.